What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Wingers and Defenders. Today, we will be doing another weekly podcast debate. This one, in favor of me, is Mo Salah. Yes, Mo Salah, underrated. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to have their own different opinions depending on what team's supporting them. You could talk about United fans probably will say he's super overrated. Liverpool fans probably will say he's underrated. Some neutrals will say he's in the middle, but I'll just get this started quickly. Now, everybody knows Salah had a world-class season when he was introduced into the Liverpool lineup in 2017-18. Had probably his best season, not just in Liverpool, but in his entire career. 32 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League. In the UCL, he had 10 goals and 4 assists. Was taken out of the Champions League final due to Sergio Ramos, which I do not like from my own perspective, but don't like him as a dirty player. But no question, he is world-class center back, and he is going to get Real Madrid another title, but that is another story for another day. But he had a world-class first season. Dropped off a little in the last year, was expected. What did you expect from 42 goals contributed in his first season with Liverpool? Only 22 goals and 8 assists, and 5 and 2 in a Champions League winning season. Was injured for some of these games, including the second leg in the famous 4-0 Barcelona win to get us into the final, where we end up beating, Joe's team, Spurs. And ever since that, things have not gone well for them. And then also this season, 19 goals, a quiet 19 goals. Not many people are talking about it. And 9 assists, 4 goals and 2 assists in the Champions League. Also, a disappointing result for us in the Champions League, dropping out of the round of 16 thanks to Diego Simeone and Atletico Madrid, who I also do not like at this moment in time. But besides the stats, which only tell you so much, I think that he is underrated to a certain degree. You're talking about a winger that is really expected to do so much for the team. Bobby Firmino's playing as a center forward who drops back so significantly and just flashes balls to Sadio Mane and and Mo Salah. Divock Origi at times is also utilized there, but overall it's really Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. Now, to me personally, from a Liverpool's perspective, I think Sadio Mane is better. I think he's arguably a top 3 winger in the world. You can argue, depending on where you want to put him. Messi's certainly there. Ronaldo, wherever you want to play him, he's really supposed to be utilized as a center forward. And at times in Maurizio Sarri's system, he's been there, but really he's a winger. Probably would still put Ronaldo over Mane. Not in Liverpool's system, I like Mane there instead of Ronaldo, but overall, just if you want to talk about who's better, Ronaldo's probably still better than him. But I think Salah is still quietly a top 5 winger in the world, maybe, at his best. Now, there's definitely been times where there's been goals lacking. For example, I vividly remember last season, struggling in the December and winter period, and Klopp had to change formation to more 4-2-3-1, where he was utilized, Salah specifically, as a center forward with Firmino behind him. Xherdan Shaqiri was used as a right winger, and Mane was on the left attacking left position, and that helped him. But when you're talking about somebody that is just always selfish and ruthless in front of the net, it's him. Yes, he has his finishing issues, but there's been times where he just finishes some goals that you just don't expect him to finish. He won the goal of the year, I believe, in the 17-18 season. Kind of a not a great goal for that award, at least. It was against Everton in the Christmas period. I think there were some other good goals in that year, even some goals he scored that probably were better than that. But no questions asked, he scored the goal of the season. There was one time in that season where he scored, I believe, 4 goals against Watford at home. But overall, I think over the course of these 3 seasons, we're talking about a winger that has produced in some of the biggest moments of Liverpool's 3 seasons, which Liverpool have been successful because of their front 3. There's other parts of the field that have been huge, but without the 3, and Salah for the most part has been on the field, Mane's been on the field for the most part, and so is Firmino. If these 3 guys have not been on the field, they're not going anywhere near where they've been. And to me, if you're talking about somebody, for example, there was one goal against RB Salzburg in the final game of the group stage in the Champions League, where he scored with his right foot, which he is not known for because his right foot is not his best foot. He scored from an incredible angle where he was near the touchline, and he somehow slotted the ball in from an angle where probably the percentage of it going in was under 5%. Well, I'll let you guys debate whether you think from Arsenal and Spurs perspective. But for me, I don't think he's super underrated, but I think to a degree he is underrated.
You go first, Jake.
I mean, he's one of the most confusing Liverpool players of recent memory, other than Jordan Henderson. But I'll get to Salah because I think he is quality. I think if you deny how good he is on the ball and his ruthlessness in front of goal, you'd be lying to yourself. You'd be lying. You don't know ball if you don't think Salah can really score 20 goals a season at times. Yes, he's disappeared. He'll miss chances every now and then. Sometimes he seems scuffed, but he may not seem like he's the most class player on the ball sometimes. But if you ignore his stats, you ignore what he's done, what he's led Liverpool to, Champions League finals, Premier League titles, being one of the top scorers in the Premier League over the last 2-3 seasons. He's quality. Do I think there's better wingers than him? Yes, I do. I think there's better players that are on the ball better than him, maybe even better finishers than him. But it's hard to argue against his accolades. It's hard to argue with what he's accomplished. And do I think he's underrated? No, I think he's actually perfectly rated. I think Liverpool fans hold him to a high standard because of what he's done for them. He's a great player. And I think a lot of fans or other clubs in the Premier League around the world, they don't rate him very highly. They think that he's, a product of having great players around him, like Trent to give him crosses, Robertson from the opposite side, Mane, obviously Firmino, giving him runs. And, I think you'd be a fool to ignore those weapons he has, but you'd also be a fool to ignore his greatness and what he's accomplished. I think he's a great player. I think he's perfectly rated. I think he is respected highly.
Oh my, Joe, did you leave us? Oh,
No,
Joe,
I'm here. My
thoughts?
phone said my phone's on low battery. But
Go ahead.
so I kind of agree with Jake on this one. I think he's perfectly rated. I think he's kind of the Bobby Firmino case here, where Liverpool fans overrate him and everyone else underrates him. I think they only underrate him just because they like to poke fun at Liverpool fans. But I think he really is a very good player. I mean, we see it. We see his potential, what he did in 2017 season, 2018, 2019 season. Dropped off a little bit, but like you said, that's expected. And, I mean, the thing is, he's playing with Sadio Mane, who's one of the best players in the world right now. And I guess that's the reason why he's getting overshadowed right now. But if you go back in time, it's the other way around. That's why I think they're just perfectly rated. And they're basically cogs in the Klopp system. And I think it's really more of a credit to Klopp than them because I think, to be honest with me, I think you could put in players who are a little less than them. Not obviously a huge drop-off, but a little bit of a drop-off, and I think Liverpool will still perform the same.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I agree with most of what you're saying. I think for both of you, at least, I think you're going to have people like me who think he's underrated. You're going to have fans who don't like Liverpool or don't like Salah that are going to overrate him, and then you're going to have people that are going to be in the middle. Now, like I said, agree with most of you. I will continue to argue why I think he is still somewhat underrated. But for the most part, I think that when you're looking at somebody that's scoring, he will most likely score 20 goals again this season in the league for the third straight season. For someone that was flopped pretty much and not given an opportunity at Chelsea, who knows what they would be like if they had him. Obviously, they have their own things that would have happened in the future, but you're looking at him and, for example, Kevin De Bruyne, two dudes that flopped or weren't given the opportunity at Chelsea. Who knows where they'd be right now, and if Liverpool ever would have made it to the situation. But I think, for me, at least, for someone that was not bought for a ton of money, you're looking at it, and it was, I believe, in the 30 mil range at the time, and that was pretty good business from them, from somebody that was coming from the Serie A, wasn't really mostly utilized. For me, going into the 2017-2018 season, I was thinking about a guy that just brings pace, and it's going to threaten the back line of almost every defense in the league. You're looking at a guy that just had sheer pace, was getting on breaks, and when he was in front of goal, he would finish, typically. And I think that for what you guys are saying, he can get a little suspect in front of net. And there's times where with his right foot, he isn't the best. And I think with his left foot, he's sensational. One of the best left foots in the world. You have the likes of Leo Messi, the likes of Antoine Griezmann. He's not the best with the left foot, but certainly in the league, he's one of the best with his dominant foot. And I think that when you're talking about sheer pace and sheer threat, I think that he poses a huge threat. When Liverpool doesn't have him in the lineup, and the drop off between Salah and, for example, the next guy that would probably take his place is Divock Origi. The sheer threat of Divock Origi versus Mo Salah is miles ahead for Salah. Talking about a Belgian guy playing possibly out of position, who should be playing as a number 9, which really in Liverpool's system doesn't play number 9. He would play as more of the coming back, and Firmino, which we all would agree that the position and style that Firmino plays is rare in this world, and rare in a position that is just based off goals and assists and contributing like that, when you really have to give an eye test for Firmino. But getting back to Origi, I think that you're talking about such a significant difference that if Salah isn't on the field, I think that makes such a huge difference. And personally, I don't know what you guys would agree on this, but I've said it in the past. If Salah did not get injured in that Champions League final against Real Madrid, yes, Real Madrid were clearly the better team, had the better lineup, and Liverpool were inexperienced in cup competitions, especially in a final, because at the time you were looking at the last time we were in a big final was against Sevilla in the Europa League years back, and most of the roster at the time when Klopp was just getting started at Liverpool wasn't on that roster in the 17-18 season, or at least starting in that team. But for me, if Salah doesn't get hurt in that UCL final, I think there's a chance Liverpool wins that game. I don't know. That might be a hot take. That might be a little bit of a stretch. But there's no question at that specific time in his career at Liverpool, that was the best we've ever seen Salah play. Salah's had his moments in 18-19 and 19-20. But for somebody that had 42 goal contributions in the league that year and was chasing the most goals in league history in a season, if Salah's on that field, we lost 3-1. Karius was a mess, which Karius, just like we talked about Kepa in this week's podcast, is horrible. He's probably going to make it back to Liverpool. He's trying to get back to Liverpool. But he had a horrible game that night. And Bale scored a fantastic bicycle kick. And Karius was he had an absolute awful game. And on the third goal was a mess. And even on the Benzema goal, which he literally said, here you go, have the goal. But I think, especially talking specifically about Salah lately, I think the biggest reason why I would call him slightly underrated from a Liverpool perspective at least is because it's so quiet. And it really is weird to see, because you're talking about it went from Salah and Mane being quietly looked at, and now it's flop, like Joe said. It was originally Salah and then Mane, and now it's Mane Salah. And I guess you can talk about if they're both overly shadowed at times in their career, but to me, I guess we can quickly argue that. But to me, I think it's kind of crazy to see that Mane went from here and now it's the opposite.
Yeah, I do think that's interesting. And I think that's just because the way teams had to defend Salah. I think managers who go into games before this season, they're like, we got to defend Salah. We can't let him beat us. And that led to Mane having more opportunities for him to score goals. And that's why, and then next year it might flip back around. Who knows what will happen. But I think we see that again. And we see Salah play so much better since Project Restart too. Teams are focusing their attention more on Mane, having one of the midfielders drop back on him. I don't know exactly every tactic of every single manager, but they're trying to do that more than they are against Salah, and that's the reasoning for that. So I think it's just going to keep flip-flopping because both are such a world-class quality of players.
Yeah, I think as an Arsenal fan, I hate playing against Salah. Absolutely hate it. If I see anyone from the midfield, Henderson, Wijnaldum, whatever, give Salah a through ball and he's got open space, I'm assuming Salah's putting it away. I hate playing against Salah. He seems like he can run for days against us. I mean, we have a terrible defense, but I mean, he destroys us every time he plays us. And I think many teams in the league feel that way as well. It's just Salah is that good of a player. I think, Mane has shown in the last 2 seasons as well that he's one of the best wingers in the world, rated higher than Salah. I think he's a bit better than Salah. But, I mean, it would be crazy to ignore what he's done, what Salah has done for Liverpool in the Prem, in the UCL. Yeah, he's just quality. And I think since the last few games, Project Restart, Salah has been fantastic. He's been clinical. He's been ruthless in front of goal. He's missed some chances, but it's because he's been getting so many, he can't score everything. Because I think if he's putting away most of his chances, he's going to end up being level with Vardy eventually. I don't know who Liverpool play next. I know they play Arsenal very soon, and he can have a field day with us. I guess he could give him getting a brace against us if he really is on his day. So, honestly, Salah, a great player. I look forward to seeing him play. It's not against Arsenal. That's it. Not against Arsenal.
All right, well, that's our analysis of Mo Salah at Liverpool. Let us know what you think about Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, any of the wingers, and where he ranks in the world and in the Premier League for wingers. Just stay tuned for more weekly football debates. We also will have some more videos. The London Derby's coming this week. That'll be out. And we also have, at the time of this thing, we will also have another episode of the Wingers and Defenders podcast coming out. But just stay tuned. We'll have plenty of content coming out in the next couple of weeks with the Champions League coming back. But please just like, subscribe, and stay tuned for our videos in the future.